we're back.
Are we on?
I think so.
Has it been 2 weeks?
Yes,
No, we were on 2 weeks ago Wednesday, is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. We are back from our roasting in the desert.
Roasting in the desert.
We went out there. It was a successful trip. Yours truly, Counselor Curtis, had a great presentation I will put up on my other website, marlowsmightymath.com, which you can go to and download all the materials that I used for my lecture by the skin of my chin and teeth
It
there.
was well done, considering that in 1 hour before it was to start, you were...
Oh no!
Oh no, I forgot everything.
Yeah, well, not everything, but critical piece of information. Anyway, today is the 10th of July, 2019, and we are back. We do this twice a week, live. We are back on schedule, 4 o'clock Wednesdays and Sundays. So join us, and we'll be around. So, what is happening, or I guess what has happened?
Yeah, what has happened is a lot of it. It's kind of interesting.
Yep.
Some of the stuff. So, yes, Ross Perot died,
Yes.
and so did Rip Torn
Yes.
of Men in Black fame.
Yes.
And
Well,
Ross
he was
Perot, of course, was the one interesting. He ran in
92.
Was it 92?
Yeah.
And he was probably the reason that Bill Clinton won, because he sucked off 20% of the vote.
Maybe so.
Yeah, something like that. And there was one more death, I think, but I didn't get it. And those are the two we remember.
Kid actor died. But
Who? A kid?
This guy, yeah. You would.
Oh, yeah, I did see. Oh, yeah, 20 years old or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, the big news, of course, that's been happening is Epstein.
Okay, Epstein.
I hope Jeffrey Epstein sings like a bird is one headline. and if some Democrats go down, so be it. This was somebody else. Epstein's, and it's interesting on this thing, it's Epstein's friends include, and they always have four, the exact same four. You got to figure that there was at least 100 people that were at least 100 that at one time or another went down on the Lolita Express to his private island, and with
Provided it's all accurate rumors.
Okay, well,
I mean,
fair number.
He's pled guilty to 2 counts of solicitation. That was the sweetheart deal he got down in South Florida.
that was what, 10 years ago or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a sweetheart deal, and of course the guy that got him off was an attorney named Acosta, not related to the guy guy on CNN or whatever, but he's now head of the Department of something or another.
Right. He was the prosecutor.
Yeah, he was the prosecutor, and he.
So anyway, assuming assuming that all this stuff is true, all the allegations that we hear today are true. Go ahead.
Okay, anyway, the friends and contacts include Donald Trump, President Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and high-powered attorney Alan Dershowitz.
Prince Andrew, you mean...
From the Brits.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, apparently he...
Married to the Kate Middleton?
Is he the one? Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I can't keep them straight.
Oh.
I'm not a royal follower.
Uh-huh.
At any rate, and in 2002... which is, 17 years ago or something like that, Trump characterized Epstein as a terrific guy who enjoyed the company of girls on the younger side. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. So, needless to say, in the immediate aftermath of Epstein's arrest, Twitter exploded with political gotchas. On the right, it's near gospel that President Bill Clinton was on there. Now, what Bill, of course, immediately came out and said, "Who? Who? Right?
Who?
I think I was on there 4 times.
Epstein.
Epstein.
I've heard of that guy.
I've heard of it. So anyway, he admitted, I believe he admitted to like 4 trips.
Right. Well, there was one time we were out of gas. We were in the Bahamas and we needed a lift. We just took a ride. All we did was take a ride with him that time. And then another time, Hillary was giving birth to a surrogate ethnic baby in another country. We needed to fly over there. And the other 2 times...
It was a lookalike.
That's right.
It was my doppelganger. I don't know.
Right.
That's what the
See,
secret.
you know.
I know that. Well, the Secret Service apparently was ordered not to show up on at least one or two of the. Apparently, according to the flight logs,
Not you guys.
he was on 26 times according to flight logs. So he admitted to 4 trips.
He admitted when.
I think right away. I mean, I think he came up right away, and he's starting to panic and say, "Holy shit! They're gonna find out about all some of the stuff I did." So I'm gonna go ahead and admit to 4.
All right, my personal take on the entire situation, just so we're clear, is I don't believe nothing about none of those people until we go through some court case situation.
Really?
So we get some depositions. Yeah, it is hearsay beyond hearsay at this point.
There's actual accusations from some of the women.
Okay, well that's say. If they will go under oath and swear to it, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. That's so they have identified themselves and come forward and described pretty
We've seen that before. Seen that.
All right.
We'll see.
You.
I'm a defense attorney, man.
I know you're a defense attorney. That's right. And of course the
presumed innocent.
Of course the prosecutor. Now this is a civil thing. It's civil.
Throw
right?
yourself on the mercy of the court, for God's sakes. Well, what's civil?
What he's been charged with is civil?
No. It's new criminal charges in a new court is what happened.
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, Southern District of New York.
Apparently, James Comey's daughter, Maureen, is one of the prosecutors.
All right. Well, they have 200 prosecutors there, probably assigned by last name or something.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that did come about on this, everybody's going to this thing on 6 different levels, but I thought one of the best ones was Ann Coulter.
Oh yeah.
And she said, there's something fishy here. Is what she didn't say that exactly, but she said during an appearance on a TV station, I guess, or AM station, she suggested that Epstein is merely the front man for a far more powerful network.
Pizzagate.
Well, right. That was one of the things here. He wanted them to have, sex with powerful men and come back to him and report it. And there's some inkling that there was video cameras everywhere, and nobody can figure out what he actually did for a living, in spite of the fact that he owns an island. And he owns this tremendous mansion in New York, and then wherever it is in Palm Springs or whatever. Palm, whatever it is down South Florida. Mm-hmm. And so she's saying that maybe a state sponsor of some kind, according to Acosta, I believe it was Acosta, said that he was under the impression that he had been told that Epstein was in, quote, intelligence. So like CIA or something, I don't know. And so apparently he might have gotten off back then for who knows what strings were pulled.
If the guy had $1 billion back then, I can see, you'd certainly you'd set up a whole con. You're getting ready to go down in state court, so you hire a bunch of actors and you outfit this warehouse with CIA badges and everybody, and then you bring the guy. Oh yeah, you can't mess with Epstein. You're gonna have to drop this case, keep it on the down low, and then.
It seems there's just something very powerful, says Ann, behind what's going on here, and I'm still nervous about this not coming to a conclusion. Somehow this is getting compromised, is what she said. She thinks that maybe he's going to get a ride. Go away. Not go away in jail, but it'll be dropped or something. We'll see. I guess we'll see.
Right.
Needless to say, this has been the 24-hour news thing. Everybody across everybody's got an opinion on this.
Right.
So I'm going to lay mine out there as well. Along the same lines. A brand new Florida law targets sex trade and trafficking at spas and hotels. Governor Ron DeSantis, what?
No, nothing.
And he signed a requirement that spas and hotels teach staff to spot signs of sex trafficking, and all law enforcement officers complete a 4-hour training on how to spot the crime.
Now, I don't know why you need. I think there's a fair amount of kids who get snatched out of Disney World and such.
Really?
Like a known, it's
Disney World?
I think so. That's the rumor off the street anyway, so.
That doesn't sound quite right. You go in there with your family at $110 a person or something.
Right.
I don't know who's going to get snatched.
Or maybe it's around Disney.
Anyway, the state officials have put up $250,000 to establish a nonprofit to help agencies track traffickers, and care for victims. $250,000, like that's going to do anything. To deter the demand for prostitution, the state will build a public registry of Johns convicted of soliciting prostitute, and similar to the list that tracks sex offenders on the database of state prisoners. I'm not sure what that's all about. Though the February raids of several spas in 4 Florida counties didn't yield any human trafficking charges, investigators said they suspected the business forced Asian women into an illicit sex trade. Prosecutors in these 4 counties charged Kraft and dozens of other men with soliciting prostitution, a second-degree misdemeanor. Is that right? Second-degree misdemeanor?
Solicitation.
But a video shot inside the massage parlors to build their cases have been tossed out. So everybody gets out. But now this new law doesn't take effect until January 2021. So that's a year and a half from now. And they're going to set up a public registry of men and women convicted of soliciting a prostitute. The names of those who will be convicted will be on the list for 5 years. Public shaming trafficking researchers say it's necessary to deter the thing. So if you come up, it's interesting that this is one of those things that libertarians especially say this is consenting adults.
Yeah. That's my position.
Yeah, consenting adults, and of course, what they're trying to target here, I guess, are the children that are forced into it by one way or another. But there's a bunch of them that aren't forced into it; they just do it.
Right.
They're escorts or whatever you want to call it.
Right. I think that the powers that be in the state don't care if they sweep up all the people who are consenting in with people who are not consenting. I think they probably feel like the latter group is larger, though I would heavily disagree with that. I would say it's 10 to 1. I've never defended anybody for sort of forced prostitution type of thing. I have had a few clients charged with something sort of close to that, but much more likely you get solicitation, which I've defended many people for. And yeah, it's a minor crime in Florida, but still, I'm with the libertarians. These are consenting adults. They can do what they want. The girls, it's always the girls that I'm defending, and it's not the Johns.
Really?
And
okay.
yeah, because they're easier to pick up because they're right there, and they know where they are.
Yeah.
So they just do a drive-by every once in a while and pick up Janice again or whatever.
Okay.
Hey, and then she's hey Bill, you gonna pick me up this time? Yeah, this time I got to pick you and take you in. It's like,
wow.
We're gonna do this
of
dance.
course, it's interesting because they here we've seen in Florida where they put officers' girls out there.
Sure. Yeah,
on
they
sting
do
operations.
stings. Totally. Yeah.
That doesn't seem quite right.
No, that's totally wrong. But it's not considered entrapment if they abide by certain protocols. But to me, it's entirely.
One of the things that they always say is, you walk up and you say, "Are you a cop?" And forget it. They can lie. That's right. They can lie. That was a mythology. He told me he wasn't a cop. She said she was.
Here's the thing: if it's a good-looking hooker, she's a cop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So next on my list here is Twitter bans dehumanizing posts toward religious groups. Now this is just another one of those things that Twitter's decided to...
Dehumanizing posts.
Yep. Twitter now prohibits hate speech that targets religious groups by using dehumanizing language.
What about hate images?
I don't know. I'm going to talk about that in a little while here. A ban, it says, may extend to other categories like race and gender. So the Twitter people have decided they're going to curate your posts and determine if it's hate speech or if it's or something that needs to be not on Twitter.
Well, if it dehumanizes you.
And we wonder how that works. I don't know. It says
I was dehumanized today by...
Yeah, well, I guess one way is, she's a dog. Well, that's dehumanizing.
There you go.
Right away.
Totally dehumanized her.
She's
a fox.
She's a fox. Oh, that's right.
Dehumanized.
She's a pig.
She's a pig.
You know, and so that's dehumanizing right there.
I guess all those things.
Social network already bars hateful language directed at individual religious adherents. It also bans hate speech on the basis of someone's race, gender, and other categories. Tuesday's change broadens the hate speech.
What about just hate-ish speech?
A good question. I mean, again, one of the things that's kind of interesting is that Paul Joseph Watson has been banned from a couple of these places, and he's on a little bit of a jihad because what he did, he's asked him, he says, what did I say? And they won't tell him, basically.
You know what you did.
Yeah, you know what you did, right? And so he points out some of the stuff that's on. Says, wait, this guy, look at this one.
Right.
And they, that doesn't violate our standards. So
yeah, I guess I see this kind of effort and this kind of announcement as simply corporate advertising.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, this is their way of trying to tell the public, hey, we're cutting back on people you don't like or something, or we're going to try to make it a friendlier environment.
Of course, you can say that, but of course, this starts to look like the Chinese thing where where you get rated on. If you cross the street against the light or something, suddenly you get a demerit.
To me, I more feared them than the people on the group.
Right.
People on the group can't hurt me.
Right.
They can't do anything except for yell at me or put things in all caps.
You're right, all caps, right. Whoa.
Oh no. Now I'm really dehumanized.
Well, what they do is they demonetize you.
Well, right. That's what
a
I mean.
big deal where they get you.
There's only one group that can do that, and that's the committee on the platform.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, whoever controls, there's a small committee on it for every platform.
A cabal.
Well, whatever they want to call themselves, and they're in charge of it, and it's fine because it's private business and all.
Right.
But I'm with you. I'm much more wary of their action, the things that they would do, than anybody else on the platform.
Well, it is interesting because we hear the stories about some of the people that we listen to being demonetized for and they call them up and say, wait, why'd you demonetize this one? And they basically said, if you don't follow our guidelines, and that's it, end of story. And sometimes they'll reinstate them, but other times they won't. I mean, who knows?
I haven't checked to see whether or not I can get back on ABC News yet after my banning.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're banned. Okay.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting now. Of course, there are a couple of other sites that are coming online that claim not to do that. I forget what their names are, but you can look them up though easily, and certainly the browsers, DuckDuckGo and some others, and then there's.
I could easily see that as the tip of the camel's nose to get under the tent there, so that one of those larger platforms might be subject to their competition.
Well, what they do is they buy them out.
Possibly, but how do you reassure the public? I mean, if you're Twitter and you buy out the competitor that has that has these restrictions,
or has no restrictions, you mean?
Right. Then what do? Just maintain that as a separate network?
Clamp down on them too? Well,
exactly. That's the whole point. I mean, people I think would abandon that network.
Everybody's got their price. We sit there and
right.
We set up this thing here. We've got 100,000 people now on this, and suddenly Twitter or a Facebook comes up and offers us $2 billion.
We're out.
That's gone. History.
That's right. But then the question is, do the people who are on the platform value the separation well enough or much enough to?
Well, I know. I take my $2 billion and set up another one.
Well, exactly.
Tomorrow.
And thus the flight would continue. The market will figure it all out.
The market will figure it out. That's the thing.
If they clamp down too much on people will go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And we'll see whether or not they can convince them to come back or not.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was. It
was ridiculous. And I got banned from just one of those little moderator things for ABC News, but I use no profanity. There's nothing in there in what I said that could be even remotely inferred to be offensive, with the only possible exception is I said that people who thought one way would be adults and the other people would be children. That's it. Yeah. Ooh, man. Crazy.
Yeah, that's bad. So anyway, they what's interesting is that Twitter apparently they asked for public response to what constitutes hate speech, and they got like 1 million responses, and you can bet it was all over the place. You know, I mean, you can imagine that the gender people were all over that.
Well, that's the whole point, is that it's absolutely undefinable because sarcasm exists.
Right.
I mean,
well, that's
You can have something that I can say to you. Listen, I think you're a really smart guy. Really smart. Seriously, you're really, really intelligent.
Banned.
That's right. He called me stupid, you know?
That's right.
It's just because of it's like, so anyway, we'll see.
So anyway, the company says it also may ban similar language aimed at other groups, such as those gender, race, and sexual orientation, but it's not done yet. Twitter's failure to ban all forms of dehumanization immediately casts doubt on the company's commitment, says this guy Rashad Robinson, the president of an online racial justice group called Color of Change. So it's no secret that Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey and other Silicon Valley leaders have been reluctant to stamp out discrimination and so forth because of conservative backlash. Well, they haven't been, as far as I can tell. They certainly, you know, anybody, several conservative type people have said they're aiming at the conservatives.
Yeah.
So, okay, next item. How are we doing here? We're doing fine. We're moving right along. Interestingly enough, we're coming up once again on the debt ceiling.
Really?
Yes.
Already?
Well, they said that the deficit has reached $1.5 trillion. Now, prior to this, a big deficit was like $800 billion, or so. Almost double that is what they're aiming for this one. So that really brings it up to the debt ceiling. Apparently, the senators are growing anxious because they might have to vote on this. One of the things that has happened in the past, the debt limit has already been exceeded.
Okay.
We talked about this before on previous Jimmy Doane shows back in the years ago. Every time it comes up, we would talk about it. And what happens is the Treasury can do the
little twist,
ledger main, to figure out who doesn't get paid. And everybody gets all paid back and everything.
Sure.
But they borrow the money from the Veterans Fund or something. I forget what it is. But it's already been exceeded, and apparently the hard exceeding is supposed to come as early as October, beginning of October. That's when they really have to do something. Well, there's a summer recess, and they said that they're probably going to have to, when they come back from their summer recess right after Labor Day in September, they're going to have to take it up right at that point. And they will not be able to lump it into a continuing resolution or something, a budget kind of thing, where they can kind of hide it in the haystack. So,
why not?
Huh?
Why not?
I don't know why. Apparently, if it comes up during the budget, the budget's supposed to be done by October 1st.
Yeah.
And usually what they do is they've had continuing resolutions for years on some of this stuff.
Yeah, it seems like they can do quite a bit.
Apparently, though, the Treasury is saying, we're literally going to all our ledger main, all our deceptions are going to be done without fail by the 1st of October, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
So the extraordinary measures they do to keep out of it. So Nancy Pelosi is saying, well, maybe we'll have to vote on it. The problem that they do is if they vote on a one-item thing, that is, we now vote on extending the debt ceiling up, $2 trillion, or whatever the hell they're going to do. And there's a lot of people that will write in and say, what are you doing? Whereas if they bundle it with something that absolutely has to be passed,
sure,
then
it provides cover for they can say, well, I wasn't voting for that.
Right.
Voting for the other.
The other part that had, it was veterans benefits or something.
Sure,
or whatever.
Sure. I mean that's a classic reason why. I mean, I think that all the bills should have to be single item.
I agree with you on
that. They
that.
are in Florida.
That's right.
But they're not. So.
They still get away with it, even occasionally here in Florida. People will complain.
Yeah.
But we have.
So this is going to lock a lot of the senators down on votes. A lot of the people who are running, like Cory Booker and Kamala Harris.
That's right.
They'll have to vote one way or the other.
Yep.
But they don't mind voting for an increase. I mean, that's
It's been happened before. Yeah, apparently, their opponents, of course, are going to say this. But then, of course, they shouldn't have done. Look, they did it again. Forgot to borrow. But then, of course, somebody would ask the opponent, "Well, what was your solution?"
Yeah, no one in the government seriously has any reservations about spending money at this point. There are no "quote unquote" fiscal conservatives left on either side. Really, the door is wide open. I mean, here's Trump, like you said, with a 1.5 T deficit rolling in terms of 19. I think that's probably a projection for the whole year.
Right. Well, the whole year. Remember now, the whole year began last October.
Okay.
So it's up until the end of September.
Okay. So and that's really the linchpin of the administration, really, from my perspective.
Well, what's interesting to me is people don't realize that a debt still has to be paid with taxes. So you can call it not
printing,
right? But right, either that or printing. All debt has to be liquidated at some point, one way or the other. All debt,
or defaulted on.
Well, that's the way it's liquidated.
Okay, right.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. Is default on it.
Yeah, so there's 3 ways really, and so what everybody is sort of holding their breath for is that we'll inflate just the right amount, grow just the right amount, and default only the evil people or something, and then everything will be fine.
Well, it's Pelosi said, we certainly don't want any thought of default on the part of the full faith and credit of the United States of America. That's never been what we're about, and those are Republican side have embraced it again and again. And the deal is that they're even if they're not going to default, even if they stop spending, they're still going to pay the debt.
Yeah, I agree. I think
the fact is that they might have to cut something else like Social Security.
No, they'll print.
Yeah,
it'll be print. There's no question it'll be print. Everybody will say, look, what's the worst that happens? The money's value drops in half?
Yeah, well, that could hurt.
It'll hurt, but at least they'll all be able to say that A, that's tolerable, and B, we saved it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, we'll see. You can imagine if you happen to be living on a fixed income.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be
the fixed income people will lose their minds.
They will. That's right.
But
so anyway, speaking of the Senate,
okay,
Chuck Schumer urges McConnell to pass an equal pay in honor of the U.S. women's soccer team. Now, you do know that they won, the women's soccer team won the international championship for women's soccer.
Okay.
And it was a big hoorah, unbelievable. They beat the Netherlands or something.
What do they mean, pass an equal pay?
The big deal is the women's soccer team doesn't get paid as much as the men's soccer teams.
Okay, right.
And so they're saying this is equal pay, this is gender discrimination.
So do they plan to force the company that
Well, right. I mean, FIFA or whatever. This is all international stuff.
Okay.
And what happens is they have a pretty good sized budget.
Sure.
But of course, one of the things you don't realize, that they don't realize, I guess, is the market, of course, has determined how much they get paid to a large extent.
Sure, it all comes down to their advertising. But even assuming, let's just assume for sake of argument that we didn't care about how much advertising they could sell, and we wanted them to get the same amount as the men's team got last year. So they want to pass a law to force the group who runs the team to pay that money?
Well, there's a little minor problem.
Okay.
Something needs to change here. Says, they talk about gender discrimination. Women in the workforce see their male colleagues paid significantly more for the same work. Well, there's a little bit of a problem. Women FIFA teams are 24. 24 teams.
Okay.
That played it, okay? Men's FIFA teams are 211. 211 FIFA teams. The Women's World Cup, established in 1991, Men's World Cup was established in 1930. Women's teams don't make the revenues that the men's team do yet. The women get 13% of the revenue generated. Men get 9%. of the revenue generated.
Okay.
Now, of course, there's a lot more generated for the men, obviously.
Right.
So that 9% is a lot.
Right.
But if you look at it from this standpoint of percentages,
Right.
They're doing pretty well. The Paycheck Fairness Act is poorly written. Somebody wrote in and said, and will cause more problems than it solves. As far as the women's soccer team goes, they are entertainers, this guy says. As soon as their product brings in the same revenue as the men's game, they'll be paid the same. That's how it works. The
Or
market.
more.
Or more, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Well, one of the things that it's you look at the women's, I don't know why they don't go topless myself. If you really wanted to have an advertiser,
They've tried that. They tried the Super Bowl with the
or the football was it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
With the Victoria's Secret models or whatever it was, and look, it's a different entertainment, and you won't see any guys getting paid a lot for their line dance review. Or their beauty pageants or anything like that. The girls clean up in those areas.
Well, unless you're one of the what is the name of the dancing guys that take off their stuff for the girls?
The Chippendales.
Chippendale, right?
Well, sure. There's one.
Okay,
right.
there you are.
But for the most part, the girls clean house in all sorts of contests like that, and the guys have the sports.
Right.
And so deal with it.
Yeah. I guess.
They're entertainers. You can't compare apples and oranges. It's like saying, taking the.
Well, that's what this guy says. The inequity is comparing an apple to a grape, is what this guy says.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, the next item I've got here, let me just make sure we're moving right along. Might finish up early unless you guys.
I got a couple things.
Okay, good. The billionaire anti-Trump activist Tom Steyer launches a presidential bid. We have another one. Now, what's his name? Swalwell or whatever? He dropped out.
Swalwell?
He dropped out.
Okay.
So it's even now. It's still got...
Where are all his votes going to go?
I have no idea. California billionaire Tom Steyer, whatever, on Tuesday morning announced his bid to join the 24 Democrats running for president in a 4-minute video released by his campaign called Fundamental Change, okay? And I don't know why he didn't call it Fundamental Change and Hope,
right?
In order to try and get on that particular coattail. Steyer said that he wishes to push power down to the people. Okay, yeah, and away from corporations. He's really anti-corporate. He's like a billionaire, okay?
Right.
And he's anti-corporations. Obviously, corporations don't have hearts, souls, or futures. They don't have children. They have a short time frame, and they really care just about making money. If you give them the unlimited ability to participate in politics, it will skew anything because they only care about profits. What?
They don't have a heart, but they care about money?
Well,
how do they care?
That's a stone heart.
Yeah.
That's right.
Doesn't seem like they could care about anything.
The 62-year-old is a fervent anti-Trump activist and a prominent backer of Democratic candidates, and he's really into such causes as climate change and impeachment. Those are his two main things, and power to the people. Power to the people. And right.
Woo!
So I just thought it was interesting that he's coming in. I don't know if it's a little late, and I don't know if he's going to be is he going to be in the debates?
Right.
You know how the next debates I think are in October. I think they are. Yeah, I think they are. I don't know. I forget what it is, but they're going to be in.
Seems like a long time away.
Yeah, it is. Where are they going to be? In Houston, I think. Now, we are here in Florida. We're getting ready to... We drove across country, of course, we did, and drove over to... it's a dry heat place, Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. And we saw Counselor Bart. Hey, Counselor
That's
Bart.
right, Counselor Bart. That's right. We had a good time with Counselor Bart, one of our great...
Been listening since 2007 or thereabouts.
You're right, yeah. It's been over a decade. So we did have lunch with him or whatever it was. That was great. God, my nose issues. So what does that mean? What does it mean when your nose itches?
And probably there's dust in here.
Okay, yeah, maybe. Somebody's gonna give me a Bitcoin. Out there to dry heat territory, which actually it wasn't all that bad if you stay in the shade. Mm-hmm. That was dry heat. Now it came back here to our sweltering 90-some degree, whatever it is. But we're getting ready for hurricane season.
Oh, right. Well,
It turns out that tropical depression is in the Gulf, which is worth some ado, and it's supposed to strengthen into a hurricane by the end. This is Wednesday.
yeah, but it's going west.
They're talking about it going, yeah, the Panhandle, right, and Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get used to it.
That's right. See you later.
So anyway, they've had a ton of rain over there already. You can imagine what's going to happen. So the National Hurricane Center said Monday there's an 80% chance that a tropical depression will form by the end of the week in the Gulf of Mexico. I didn't realize this, but a tropical storm is only 39 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of development, the system has the potential to produce heavy rainfall among the Panhandle and Louisiana, Mobile, all that area out there.
Mm-hmm.
AccuWeather senior meteorologist Adam Dowdy warned that residents from western Florida to eastern Louisiana could look out for downpour. So the hurricane season, it's Hurricane Bob or something. It starts with a B, so it's only the second one. So there was one year they ran out of letters. I think there were 26 storms. Anyway, if we're not on Sunday, no, we'll be back here Sunday. Just thought we'd let you know that we're in for the weather.
Mm-hmm.
The border numbers drop. Speaking of heat, the border numbers drop amid the heat and the Mexico crackdown. That makes perfect sense.
It was hot out there.
It was toasty hot, and they're sending a bunch of them back and everything. Homeland Security officials said Tuesday there was a 28% drop in the number of migrants encountered by Customs and Border Protection last month amid a crackdown on migrants by Mexico. Now, I thought this was interesting. This is 28%. Sounds like, whatever.
That's a lot.
Well, there were 104,000 people encountered in June, down from 144,000 before. I mean, that's
a lot. I'm gonna say the heat and/or Mexico probably isn't gonna do
the
it.
heat has got to be it. They were talking. I was listening to NPR News or whatever, and the girl said she went down to some of these places that were over in Juarez or whatever it is, and she said it's just beastly. I mean, it's just you can't imagine. You go to this place and there's 2 bedrooms and like 8 families, and 13 kids, blah blah blah, and they're in this place, and it's just, and there's nothing, no air conditioning, 1 toilet. I mean, give me a break. So
we saw the wall. We saw in
yes,
Mexico.
we did. We got driving along. Yes, we got to. It's interesting now that they built the I-10 now to a point where it's hard to look over there, but you can see it.
You can see
and
it.
you can see Mexico.
You can see the total difference between the housing structures.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, it is like what do they call those? Favelas, or what do they call them?
Favelas.
Favelas, yeah, right now. Okay, I can't remember. Homeland Security officials said the number of single adults, families, and unaccompanied minors encountered had declined, but did not give a breakdown. The tally includes apprehensions between ports of entry as well. And of course, it's just amid cries about squalid conditions for migrant children, and they're being held a lot longer than the law says, 72 hours, and they're who cares? So
I think it's messed up at this point. The law, that being the asylum thing, created a huge incentive and loophole. So I guess we'll see how it works out.
Okay, my next item is this, and this will be interesting. American Airlines apologies after flight attendants make a doctor to cover up her outfit with a blanket. Now, she was coming back from Jamaica, and I think she's going to Houston.
Okay.
So she got on the airplane, and they basically said, you can't come on here dressed like that. And so I think they made her dress up or something. She said it was just humiliating. And
she was wearing a thong. They made her put on a burqa.
No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't wearing a thong. Here's this is her. If you can see, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the way she was dressed. That's black and white and everything, but that's the way she took that picture of herself and said that was okay. Now, to get on the plane, they apologized. Said, okay, well, we shouldn't have said that much.
Here's your burqa.
Yeah, here's your burqa. Right. I'm reminded, of course, I'm old enough to know that it was when I was growing up and when I was her age. You went on a suit and tie, for God's sakes. You were dressed. I mean, you didn't go in there in a halter top and torn jeans and flip flops. But they do now, and I guess that's acceptable. I just thought it was interesting. She specialized in family medicine in Houston, and so she shared her experience and a lot. And it was interesting. I read the comments; they were about 50-50.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were. I said, if this
Put on some clothes.
put on some, and the others said, no,
Take
it's
it
fine.
off.
Yeah, take it off, right? So anyway, she approached her after and asked her to. The flight attendant came up and said, "Could you get off the plane with your son?" So she inquired if she had a jacket and so forth, and it was too distracting, is what they said. She alleged she had told needed to cover up and was not able to find acceptable attire, that she and her son would not be allowed to fly. So she took to Twitter and showed, and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I wouldn't have taken a picture of me that way.
Well, but she doesn't look...
Racism!
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine what the flight attendant was thinking, I guess. But like you said, maybe a super strict formal flight attendant wants everybody to be in suit and tie.
Well, but I'm looking at that and I'm figuring, this is not what...
What? It's a top and shorts.
Yeah, okay, that's plenty. All right, fine, whatever. So I think that it was... I'm not sure I would have ordered off the plane. I would have shamed her.
Yeah, okay, well...
Yo, bitch. No, you don't do that.
She's coming from Jamaica. You need like zero clothes there.
Yeah, that's true.
I could see people probably getting on that plane all the time in a bathing suit, or a bathing suit top with a little shirt over it or something. And
she was the only one singled out.
well, that's what who knows? Yeah. I see a shot of the rest.
My last item is about and I want your take on this. The grandfather who dropped a toddler from a cruise ship may face charges.
Okay.
A man from Indiana may face negligence charges after dropping his 18-month-old granddaughter from 150 feet up on the cruise ship.
I saw a story that said he didn't drop her, but it was it was his lawyer or something.
Well, apparently the way they're saying it is that he picked her up and put her on a railing. And she thought there was glass.
Oh. And
she went to lean on the glass and tumbled over. That's what they're saying now.
Right.
And that he did not restrain. He was not holding on to her.
Right.
Well, once again, it said lift her up, put her on the railing where he thinks there's glass because it's clear. Well, yeah. Clear, no glass is clear too, Turns out there was no glass, and Chloe dropped 150 feet and died on impact. Authorities said Monday they were investigating whether to charge him with negligence for dropping the little girl, but his family isn't blaming, and for obviously this is granddad, and granddad is not going to recover from this anytime soon.
No, or ever,
right?
And but that won't stop the authorities.
Really?
Oh yeah, if they don't care about that kind of stuff. I've defended many people who accidentally killed their own family members, usually in car accidents, and they send those people to prison.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't care at all that if you could show up. I showed up one time with the entire extended family to testify for one of the younger family members who, again, fell asleep driving. And one of the younger kids died, but the prosecution won't recognize that as any hardship for the perpetrator at all.
Really?
Yeah, they just don't. They don't.
Of course, the family is saying it was an accident.
Right. But they don't acknowledge that in any way. From their perspective, they are protecting citizens by punishing somebody, even if it's an accident.
Well, of course, the question is, what's the jurisdiction? It was on a cruise ship, and it was docked, I think, in Puerto Rico or someplace.
Yeah, and that's it right there.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's a stretch. I doubt they'll charge the guy because for centuries, you had to specifically intend to kill somebody. You couldn't just accidentally kill them. And then they kind of expanded it to, well, if you're acting super, super recklessly and you do it, well, then, okay, that makes sense. But negligently? That's a civil case. That means it was an accident. But if somebody wants to sue you, okay, they can sue you. So if the family wants to sue the guy or something like that. But they shouldn't be able to put the guy in prison for that. But we've erased some of those intent requirements at this point, and we've certainly blurred that line such that you don't have to even intend anything anymore if they sort of they can shoehorn your intent into whatever they want it to be.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Again, the comments were 50-50.
Yeah, well,
the comments were, what was he doing?
Actually, I'm surprised it wasn't 90-10 against the grandpa.
It was 50-50, and what they said was the railing is there for a reason.
Right.
If you're an adult, you're not going to fall over the thing.
Right.
The railing is there. Now, what have
Don't
you done?
climb on top.
You've picked up an 18-month-old who's
Right.
This big,
Yeah.
and put him up on a place where they're if they were walking, they never would have made it.
Right.
So that was a lot of the comments said, he was, what are you doing putting her up there on a place that was obviously.
This was a tragic accident.
Of course it was.
And so,
of course it was.
There's no need to punish the grandpa because, as we just recognized, he's already suffering and he's going to suffer forever. There's nothing that you can do to deter the grandpa to not do that again. He'll probably never even go on a cruise again.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that you can do to prevent other grandparents from making that same stupid mistake other than just publicizing the story. They're not going to say, if you let that grandpa go, there's not going to be other grandpas that go, well,
I'm going to take my 17-month-old.
That's it. That's it. The other grandpa didn't go to prison. So I got nothing to worry about here.
I got nothing to worry about. There were a lot of people who were saying on the cruise ships there are windows at those places, but this one happened to be open.
Oh, that's probably what it was. Now that makes a lot more sense.
Is that right?
It was probably one of those windows that opens from the bottom. The kid might have even pushed the window open.
No, I don't think. They didn't say anything about that.
Okay,
They
but
just said it was.
that to me makes a lot more sense than a grandpa that just willy-nilly putting a kid up on a railing. Grandpas know. I mean, unless the guy's totally losing it, he knows. And so, we'll see if more facts come out about that.
Yeah, we'll see what. Okay. Now another thing I wanted to mention, by the way, for you people, I think it's this weekend, Amazon Prime days.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, so this is when, if you haven't, you can. Now, if somebody once said you can sign up for Amazon Prime, which is like $112 a year, $120 a year, and that allows you free shipping and all the other. There's some other goodies you get the movies and all that kind of stuff. But as one wag said, you get the first 30 days are free.
Okay.
So what you do is you make sure you get on the Amazon Prime, blah blah blah. You agree, and then after 2 weeks you cancel it. So then
it's worth it if you order anything.
Yeah, right. It is. So I thought.
Shipping costs.
So I was telling people that I want to alert people, the listeners of Jimmy Doane Show, that it's coming up. I think this weekend.
Okay.
Now, this is something that you might. This is a legal item.
Okay.
Donald Trump is not allowed to block his followers on Twitter.
Right.
What's that about?
There was a court case.
I know. I mean,
he
violated the U.S. Constitution by blocking people he didn't agree with.
Yeah. There was a court case. I mean, I don't agree with the court case, but they ruled that his Twitter account is basically a public forum, and he can't ban people from the public forum.
Because when you listen.
And now there's two people who are suing AOC to get access back to her Twitter because she blocked them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's what's his name? The Dilbert guy, Scott Adams. He blocks people all the time.
Right.
But
he's not an elected official.
No, he's not an elected official. No, he just is. But it's just he makes a big. I'm blocking this person.
Right.
So he does that. So anyway, I thought this was it cannot silence people if they criticize or mock him.
Right.
And so I don't understand that. I mean, why can't he? It was ruled he's using his account in his capacity as a public official and therefore cannot clamp down on discussion. So the First Amendment does not permit a public official who utilizes a social media account for all manner of official purposes to exclude persons from an otherwise open online dialogue because they express views to which the official disagrees.
Yeah. See, I think it's a super, super narrow or broad reading, depending on how you want to say it, about his Twitter account. I don't think that's fair, but it is what it is. It's not going to hurt anything.
Okay, I've got two more things here real quick.
Okay.
One, Pamplona is this week.
Oh, okay.
And it goes from Sunday to Sunday. It's 8 days. I personally have run in it on
and
twice.
survived.
And survived. Well, they said it turns out that Runners reported trampled by bulls during the Pamplona Festival. Another 4 people have been injured running the bulls in Pamplona, Spain. Picture showed a runner being flattened by several bulls at the entrance to the bull ring. Now, I've said this many times. When you run this, it's about 2/3 of a mile, and you ain't outrunning no bull. I mean, even when you start halfway there, you're not going to outrun the bull to get to the arena. I mean, you really have to be good. So they run by, but you do get to follow the bulls, and if you're quick, you get to follow the bulls into the arena. The problem that you've got is that the arena is like, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 yards thick. And the
tunnel is 30 yards.
Huh?
So the tunnel is 30
The
yards.
tunnel is 30 yards, and it's narrower than the road. So the bulls all, they group together, and you don't want to get caught in that tunnel. I'll tell you right now, you do not want to get, because they will stomp you, and they're aiming for it. Now, they are shepherded by some steers to keep things down, but basically, you have to watch this. It's kind of a fun thing. I mean, I've done it, so it was kind of a hoot. And to run into the arena with another 5,000 people who all think that they're bullfighters. I mean, seriously, there's 5,000 people in the arena, and they let one bull at a time out. Not a fighting bull, but what they call a novillero. This is a bull that's only about a year old, and they put little wooden nubs on his horns. And he gets to run around, and everybody drags him down and everything. But these kids, they're 12, 14, 16 years old, and they all brought their little handkerchief, and it's just, and they're going to be bullfighters. So it's always a big hoot. So anyway, needless to say, there were some Americans in. I forget who they were, but there were some Americans. I know the time that I went there was an American who was so proud of being butted by the bulls. He had this giant bruise. This big purple bruise on his side, and he torn open his T-shirt to show it. So that was his deal. So that was kind of a hoot. The last thing I've got here is, and this is kind of interesting, bad mom, quote unquote, drove around with children in an inflatable pool on the roof of her car. Now what she'd done is she'd taken her kids over to inflate a neighbor's to inflate the whatever it was, the inflatable pool, right. So she took the inflatable, she put it up on the roof of her car, and she had her couple of kids, sit in it on the way home so it wouldn't blow away.
Nice.
Yeah. So they caught her, and they arrested her for every kind of negligence you can imagine.
Right.
But I thought it was interesting because when we were growing up, as you well know, nothing. They would have laughed at this. I mean, they wouldn't. When you sit and think that there were no seat belts, and you get to ride around in the back of the car in the window there, and in the back of a truck. Everybody's in the back of the truck.
They have bigger kid seats now.
Yes, that was another one. They this thing goes on, and they were talking about this. It was a Yeager faces further charges of failure to secure a passenger under the age of 8 and another under the age of 16.
Right. Yeah.
Holy smokes. So, I mean, all right. That's what I
got a couple of things. Okay. First, we have to recap. When last we left our heroes, it was right before the first debates.
Okay.
And I want to touch on, everybody's of course done the debates, but I think there were 2 or 3 takeaways that I had from the debates, which I think are important and will continue and be lasting. So, from my perspective, the 3 takeaways were: number 1, Elizabeth Warren is all hat and no cattle.
Okay.
If you watch her speech, it's just she says English words, but there's nothing in there. Everything is, we have to fight to stand up for our principles. We can't let this administration take us back 50 years. We've come so far. I'd like to rally everybody together and give you everything. And that's her only promise is to give people stuff. But she doesn't even say that. It's just over and over again. She just spews the American flag. So watch for that in the future, I would say. Second, we learned that Kamala Harris is a real prosecutor in the sense that she's willing to deceive her audience in order to get ahead.
Okay.
She went ahead and look. So there are some prosecutors who are good, but she suffers from prosecutorial sickness.
Okay.
If you grew up, a prosecutor is the person in your class you'll remember who didn't have the inclination to step outside of the lines when they were growing up, and so they just sort of naturally fell in line, and then they became the one who would tell on the other kids, because why were those kids acting out and doing the bad stuff? Why would they do that? And so they start to feel a little bit better than all the other kids, and then if they become prosecutors, then they get entrenched into that system where all they see are bad people, and they think, well, they're a good person. And so then they start to convince themselves, well, whatever I do is okay, because even if I'm inclined to do something bad or evil or wrong, it's not nearly as bad as the stuff that most people are doing.
Well, not only that, I'm doing the Lord's work and putting bad people away.
Right, exactly. That's the ultimate of it. The ultimate gets to be when they feel that. I don't know if she's at that level yet, but she's certainly at the level where she has no problem misleading in order to get into the lead, because she clearly misrepresented Joe's position to everybody. This was a, I'm going to call this guy a name in front of the whole class kind of maneuver. You know, Johnny wet his pants kind of a, I'm going to call Joe Biden out for being a racist in front of everybody because I want him to go down for this, even though he was Barack's vice president. Mm-hmm. And it's disingenuous, but to me it shows her true stripes, and I think it'll come back to haunt her, because people say that people are stupid, and maybe they are, intelligence-wise, but they have intuitions. And one of the things people spend a lot of time doing is trying to figure out if they're being deceived or not. And a lot of people have a deception radar, even if they're not that intelligent. And she's gonna step in it over and over again as she switches positions. And B, she'll reveal, I think, that part of herself. And even people who are not that bright will be able to look at her and say, she's hiding something. She's doing a dance.
Interesting. So, you should say that.
That was my impression of the whole thing. I was totally unimpressed with her antics. That was just like,
okay.
And then third, after the whole thing settled out, Joe obviously has the spine of a jellyfish in that he's apologizing for the busing thing in just a kowtowing sort of way, and I expect to see him ruin the advantage that he has by being the actual moderate of the group by switching it over to the left. I think he's going to continue to try to pander more and more towards the left. Now he kind of has to, because he's got to win the primary.
Right.
But the other people, I think, will beat him out in that regard, but then they'll have no chance in the regular election, unless, as I say, to begin with, the whole thing still relies on the economy. If the economy crashes, Trump lives and dies with the economy. If it crashes, he goes down with that. He can lose to a ham sandwich. If it's golden, he can beat anybody.
Right.
Even Hillary or Michelle, if they decide to get in, which we'll see.
Okay. Michellery,
yeah. The Independence Day speech. What'd you think about that?
It was pretty much of a home run.
Yeah, I thought.
I mean,
so
it was the main thing was it wasn't about him.
Right.
You know, now I will say this: when you see the Independence Day speech from Obama, it's me.
Right.
Every time he gives a speech, it's about him. No, this was all choreographed to be a flag waving event from day one, and of course there was the one quote slip up that was not even a slip up. This is
the
where
airports thing,
airport thing, right? You know, the Continental.
But nobody who says that's a slip up even believes that's a slip up.
No, I know,
but you have to admit it's a slip up. That is to say.
Yeah. So the point being, he normally doesn't use a teleprompter.
Okay.
Trump. He's normally off the cuff. I mean, he's like Castro for guys. You know, he'll give an hour and a half speech off the cuff, as he's done in his rallies.
Okay.
But this time he had to use a teleprompter. Why? because it was timed. I mean, the airplanes, when he talked about the Marines, that's when they flew over. He talked about the Navy, that's when they flew, blah, blah, blah. There was like 4 different flyovers for the different people or whoever it was, or at least 4, maybe 5, I don't know.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard.
Well, and the Coast Guard.
Then there was a Space Force flyover.
Was there?
No,
I was going to say, that's right, a satellite.
Buzzed by the space shuttle.
That's right. Yeah. No, but seriously, that all had to be choreographed. I mean, you know, when you're starting your airplane, 5-8 miles away or whatever it is, 10 miles away, and you're going to time it so that, during the speech at that particular thing, and that means that you are reading it, and if there was a quote slip up on the teleprompter, I mean, you're trying to do a couple things at once.
And what was it, like an hour-long speech?
At least.
Yeah,
it was a little more than
one slip up.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even. I mean, but it was interesting to see the people that glommed right onto this and said, see, he doesn't know anything about history. He's thinking that the revolutionaries came in and took over the airport.
No, he didn't.
No, of course not.
And they don't think he did. They don't think he thought that. That's the thing. It's not even. It's like the big league thing, that he never said big league. He said big league. You can't make a joke out of something that didn't happen.
Right.
I mean, you can. It just doesn't have any effect. All right. To me, the big story that's happened since we left was the attack on Andy Ngo by the Antifa thugs.
Okay.
To me, this was a corner turning by that group because Andy Ngo is like a gay reporter. I mean, he's one of the people they should be protecting, and they attacked him. So, and they beat the crap out of him apparently, and then you had the AOC, the mini AOC girl.
Yeah.
Who was, I guess, doing parody videos. I never saw one of her videos. But
I saw one, and it was not so much a parody, I don't think, as it was. It was halfway between really what kind of a thing. She's like 8 or 10 years old,
right?
And she looked like AOC, and she was saying some stuff. I'm not sure it was really a parody as much as it was the way an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, however.
Yeah,
no, she was 12, I
parody.
think. Huh?
But that's the parody.
Okay, maybe it was. Anyway, she got hate mail.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Apparently, she got serious hate mail from adults. Well, I don't know if it's from adults, but it just, to me, this exemplifies this.
Well, somebody gave out her address or something, and
they doxed.
Oh yeah, they doxed her, right? And it was, and so her mother, found out about it and everything. So they ash-canned everything that she did, and took care of everything. That was sad.
Thugs. Man.
I thought she was kind of good myself.
Let's see, real quick. The Betsy Ross shoe.
Yeah.
Thing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it's just Nike trying to get some advertising, which they do a good job with. But it's interesting that the flag. I mean, the flag. Donald Trump is pushing a flag burning amendment or something?
No, I don't think so.
I heard a little bit of rumbling about that.
Well, the thing about it is, as was in West Wing when the president, he said, I haven't noticed a number of, I forget, a deluge of flag burnings.
Yeah.
So why do you need a law? I mean, and that was a dozen years ago in West Wing, so
yeah.
Same way as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, and to me, it's like putting it on the shoe shouldn't be a problem, but again, I think it's just advertising.
Well, I think, let me put it this way, what I thought was interesting, apparently, this may be true, maybe not true, but apparently some of the shoes got out.
Yeah.
And they promptly showed up on eBay at $3,000.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Collectible.
Yeah. Okay. California gives healthcare benefits to illegals.
Yes.
Under 25 who are indigent. So the only reason I'm pointing this out, it was interesting that the article that I read said that the price tag on this was going to be $100 billion.
Wow.
Or excuse me, $100 million.
Okay.
$100 million. Yeah, it's just a little off. $100 million. One of the comments said, "That's interesting. Last week the price tag was $50 million."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, how long until it's $1 billion? which really is a drop in the bucket in terms of California's overall budget.
I don't know about it. It's okay. It's a drop in the bucket, but it's more than a little drop. But the fact is that they're broke anyway. I mean, California's got troubles with their budget.
I don't know. They have a huge revenue.
They got some other problems. Yeah, I know that, but there's so does the United States government got huge revenue,
right?
And they're going in the hole $1.5 trillion every year now,
right?
So,
well, we'll see. All right. Deutsche Bank agrees to pay out $7 billion for RMBS fraud, which is residential-backed mortgage securities.
okay.
Basically, they were sued by a bunch of the people who bought their residential mortgage-backed securities that were securitized, basically loans of subprime loans.
Right.
Back in the day. So this is interesting because it coincides with Kamala Harris's new plan for $100 billion in subsidizing low-income housing.
Right. They never learn. I just unbelievable. Wait, come on, wait, honey.
It's like
I love you, but
just turn the newspaper back a couple of pages.
Yeah. Don't you remember 2008?
And you can see the effect of this as Deutsche Bank pays out $7 billion. She's ready to do it again.
$100 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, way more. Yeah, 15 times what they're paying.
And what's interesting in a way about it is I think what she was talking about was, or maybe as Liz was going to do this. They're talking about being able to subsidizing the down payment,
right,
up to $25,000.
Right.
Well, of course, if you're going to buy a $150,000 house, that's not enough. That's not enough to keep you out of trouble.
No. Well, the bottom line is that nobody. That's not the limiting factor in home ownership, having the down payment. It's the ability to make the payments.
Right.
And that's why
for 30 years.
Right, and that's a factor that goes into your credit score. So, but I just thought it was interesting. All right, and then finally, I will announce we may be doing a new kind of Jimmy Doane show in the not too distant future.
Okay.
You look surprised.
No, yeah. Tell me about it. Tell Jimmy about it.
That's right. And that is, we may do a Jimmy Doane dead horse beatdown show where we pick a single subject and cover it for however long it takes us to beat it into a dead horse.
Okay. Well,
sometime between.
It might already be a dead horse, but we're going to try and resurrect it.
It could be. I mean, these are subjects that we think should be dead horses.
Yeah.
That we think people should know about it. We may do the free market. We may do fair share. We may do universal health care, universal basic income, something like that. But look for those shows. Ladies and gentlemen,
one that I would like to do is I subscribe to Robert Reich's little. He comes almost every day. He's got some little thing, and one of the things that
don't say little,
not to him, right? He's not even 5 feet tall, right?
It's horrible.
He's got creds. I mean, he's got. I mean, he's
Yale Law School.
I mean, everything. He's
law review.
I mean, everything. Yeah. I mean, he's got creds for what he does, except he's wrong. And of course, one of the things that I look at is here he's going up there and he's talking about all this stuff. And my question to him is, how are you doing? What effect has the Trump stuff had on you personally? Has it affected you? And the answer is obviously no. I mean, he's doing just fine. I would imagine he's got his pension and he's got his income and whatever.
So why is that important?
Because his stuff is he cares so much about other people.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sitting there saying, what business is it of yours? Look, if you're doing fine and you're going to lump everybody else into this category of you need to help them some way, shape, or form. We need to get together to do. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is not your job. You're doing just fine. And why don't you? And here's my deal: leave me out of it.
Well, what we may do is an extended section on like altruism and Ayn Rand or something.
Right.
And
I saw some stuff about that, and there were some people that were talking about Ayn Rand, however you call it, and it was interesting to me that people that had probably not read it all.
Uh-huh.
So
Well,
or had forgotten.
yeah. Well, he did a little review of it, and I thought he totally missed the point. But anyway, that's what we may do. So look for that in the future. We will be back again on Sunday now, picking up where we left off. So please join us at your leisure.
Now this is going to be up on YouTube, right?
Yep, I'll put a timestamp copy up on YouTube in sometime later today. This is our music brought to you by Kevin MacLeod. Check him out. He's got a bunch of license-free stuff, royalty-free for your usage. It's great.
Our usage.
Yeah, our usage, your usage. We're just pointing out. So, all right. I'm Council Curtis. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Donna, Gene, Dave, Jack, Bill, Susie. Hey Susie. Hope you guys had a little fun.
Is that Leduc?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Hi.
So we'll be back next time.
They must have missed us.
Let's not get carried away.
Okay, yeah.